Alright, this second video for day 8. This is on page 42. This is solving complex numbers. Alright, so on this we're solving them, so we're adding 11 to both sides, just like normal. 3x squared equals negative 48. We divide by 3, so everything looks the same as it does. Negative 16. We need to divide. Square root. I still am going to have two solutions, so I'm going to have plus and minus. And this is like yesterday, I took it out, so change it into root 16 times root of negative 1, which is just plus or minus 4i. Done. Now, let's say you had 3 terms here and we can't factor it and that sort of stuff. You will need to do quadratic formula. So we're going to focus first on what's called the discriminant. So the discriminant is this part under the root, the b squared minus 4ac. Alright, so if the discriminant, so the b squared minus 4ac comes out, you do all those calculations, and you square it and you subtract 4 times a times c, and it's positive and perfect square. So example, like square root 25. You will have two solutions, and the type, they will be exact. So they could have decimals, they might not have decimals, but they will be exact and real because you'll be adding numbers and dividing by something. So they're going to be exact. You might have fractions or decimals or whole numbers. Alright, so positive, so again, something bigger than 0, but not a perfect square. So like example, square root 21. Well, you're still going to have two solutions, but they are going to be decimal form. But they'll still be real because we're talking about numbers that are bigger than 0 or bigger. Now, if you have to square root 0 under there, so b squared minus 4ac, so if this number is 0, you're going to have one repeated solution. So one solution that's exactly the same 2 times. That's going to be real and exact. It's going to be a repeated real, which we'll talk about more when we get into more graphs. Now negative, like square root of negative 16. So we're just looking at that number under the root. We're going to have no real solutions. So the key thing is real here. The type we're going to have is 2 imaginary. So technically, let's go back. So 0 real solutions, which automatically means imaginary solution. Okay, so there's going to be 0 real. So 0 stuff you could find on the number line, but something that is actually, you can calculate, but just put I with it, meaning I know it's in the imaginary world. Okay, so something like this. If you can't figure out what to do, b squared minus factoring doesn't work, adding, subtracting doesn't work, I want to do quadratic formula. So a is 2, b is negative 3, c is 4. We do the opposite of b. Sorry, x equals plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times 2 times 4 all over 2 times 2. So I'm going to have 3 plus or minus square root of 9. Let's see. 8 times 4 is minus 32 over 4. So then I'm going to have 3 plus or minus the square root of negative 23. And that means automatically we start seeing if we can simplify. Square root of 23i over 4. Now there are two solutions, but since there's an I with them, I know both of them are imaginary, so I wouldn't actually be able to see them on a graph unless we were graphing imaginary quadrants, which are coordinates, which we are not. So there is that one. So because I'm doing plus that and minus that, that's two of my solutions. So that's a quadratic with 2, degree 2. That's what I'm looking for. So if you feel comfortable, try the next one on your own. A, B, and C, quadratic formula again. Double check back in with the answers. Mute it or whatever while you're working, because I'm doing the same thing. B squared minus 4 times A times C over 2A. 36 minus 40 over 2. Plus or minus square root of negative 4 over 2. Okay, so this one I can do because it's a nice perfect square. Although it has the negative, I'm just going to have I. So negative 6 plus or minus 2I over 2. I can divide both of these, so I have to divide both. So negative 3 plus or minus 1I, or negative 3 plus or minus I is fine too. Alright, so make sure you have both sets of those notes, or both pages, page 41 and now this is 42. And then I'll post your homework for tomorrow. It's just going through some of the stuff, a little bit of review, but it's just going to be page 43 and 44. When you get to the discriminant, do not do the whole quadratic formula, just do b squared minus 4ac. Okay, do b squared minus 4ac. So page 43 and 44, besides the notes, are what I'm going to be checking for tomorrow. Talk to you later. Come and let me know if you have questions. Bye.